So what we're going to do is we're going to have a panel discussion, but before that, I'd like to, from the proximity perspective, give an overview of the near DeFi ecosystem, and then we'll have Hai from Spin Finance also give a presentation, and then we'll move to a panel. Could someone put up? Sorry, no, I have to put up my presentation.
Oh, sensitive emails.
We have one.
Okay, let's get started. So, hi, I'm Rin from Proximity. I will get into what Proximity is, but basically we are the DeFi vertical of the NEAR ecosystem. So today I want to give kind of a bird's eye view of where NEAR is in terms of DeFi, and when I say NEAR, I also mean Aurora, which is the EVM-compatible sister network. To speak of Proximity, Proximity is an ecosystem fund for DeFi on NEAR. We support talented builders and projects. We publish OS solutions to challenging problems on NEAR. We collaborate with investors, market makers, and other ecosystem participants to basically grow and bootstrap the NEAR DeFi ecosystem. So let's look at NEAR DeFi by the numbers. And preface this with the fact that this was in early May before everything happened in the market. So these are our best numbers. These are not the numbers we have now. But at our peak, we had 2 billion TVL at the peak. We have 41 track projects for DeFi. We have 3 billion total bridge with Rainbow Bridge being our main one between Ethereum, Aurora, and NEAR. If we look at the ecosystem at advance, these are some of the top projects that we have with the ecosystem. We have several AMMs. This is both on Aurora and NEAR. We have money markets, also NEAR and Aurora, liquidity protocols. Some of us represented here today. And we have order book dexes that are coming to NEAR very soon. If we look at the automated market maker ecosystem, we have Rep Finance, which is the #1 AMM dex on NEAR native. The all-time high in TVL was reached also back in May, and it's still, I think, even with the crash, it has #1 TVL on NEAR. I think of 120 million or something around those numbers. Tri-Solaris is the main AMM dex on Aurora. It launches stable swap. Rep also has a stable swap. Jumbo Finance, which is on NEAR native, is now live. And then Curve also integrated Aurora playlist recently. If you look at money markets, so this is basically lending protocols like we understand Compound or Aave. Bastion, which is the main money market on Aurora, crossed 500 million in net deposits at its peak. And then they launched stable swaps for C tokens. And Burrow, which is on NEAR native, and Origami, which is another lending protocol on Aurora, they both each topped 500 million in TVL. If we look at the liquidity infrastructure, we have currently 2 live liquid staking protocols. One is Metapol and the other is Linear. We have 2 on the way. One is Lido Finance, and the other is Statelabs, which is going to be launching actually this week. They're coming over from the Terra ecosystem. Metapol is at an 8 all-time high in terms of its NEAR. And then we have Rift, which is a liquidity as a service protocol, and they're supporting 6 projects across the NEAR ecosystem. Order books, we're quite bullish on order books as the next phase, the next narrative for DeFi. Afterwards, like the markets pick back up again. 3 order book nexts are coming to NEAR. One is Orderly, one is Tonic, the other is Spin. Spin you'll hear from shortly. Tonic and Spin are live on mainnet. Orderly is live on testnet and announced a 20 million raise. And the first app for Orderly is supposed to be infrastructure for all of the DeFi protocols that uses its SDK. And the first app is the Rudex, which is the Rudex. USN is the near-native stablecoin that was announced and had some hype right before the UST crash. So this is not from the protocol itself. It's a separate DAO called Decentral Bank that is issuing stablecoins on here. So this is a recent number. So yesterday I checked, there's 124 million total supply from USN and 170 million on the refinance stable swap between USN and USDT. So given that right after USN launched, the market crashed and the USN has such a bad rep because it can't be compared to UST, the numbers aren't bad. I think even with the crash, we're still bullish on stablecoins given that there is such a demand for stablecoins, there's such a necessity for it in the DeFi ecosystem. And knowing that right now USN is in version 2, which means that you only mint USN with USDT, not with NEAR. But once the markets pick back up and we can reintroduce USN as collateral again, NEAR as collateral again, there is a really good potential for a flywheel effect. As more NEAR has upward price action, it affects the total circulating supply of USN, which means it also affects the total amount of NEAR that is locked up in the USN contract, and then the price goes up. So there's a lot to be looked forward to with something like USN for the NEAR ecosystem. And then if we talk about some of the upcoming initiatives, we have aggregators that we're looking forward to for both yield and DEX aggregation. We have derivatives leveraging the order book DEXs that are launching on NEAR. And we have USN tooling and infrastructure, so basically the stablecoin ecosystem, and cross-chain projects that we're looking forward to. And just to give kind of a little alpha leak, I mean, if you know, you know, but NEAR is a project that is being developed by Proximity, one of our core developers called Matt Lockyer. He's been working on it, he talked about it a little bit at Consensus. So basically, this is a plugin from the NEAR backend to create ETH wallet compatibility without actually a MetaMask or wallets like having to work with us. So what happens is that you can now, or in the future, once it launches very shortly, you'll be able to use your MetaMask or any ETH wallet, not create a separate NEAR wallet, and use NEAR dApps directly. So this is the kind of powerful dev tooling that Proximity also wants to provide for the DeFi ecosystem, and we really do think that this is going to be a very powerful driving force to grow or propel NEAR DeFi further into the future. So I just did a quick DeFi with the numbers for the NEAR ecosystem. If this is interesting, if you think NEAR is a promising ecosystem for you as a DeFi builder, my call to action is please build with us. We want to help. We do funding, we do grants, we do advisory, we do dev tooling, we do everything up to marketing and community. That's my role. So you can contact us on proximity.dev. We have an intake form. We'll reach out to you. And if you want to talk to me directly, you maybe don't have a project yet, you can email me at proximity.dev or message me on Telegram at InfoJob. So thank you so much. That was DeFi by the numbers from Proximity. So next we have Hai from Spin Finance. Spin is one of the order book DEXs that has launched on NEAR mainnet, and he'll do a quick short presentation on Hai Spin.
Yes. 안녕하세요. Okay. Just wait a moment.
Sorry, do you want to start by introducing yourself? I just have to.
Okay, so just a minute for now. Hello everyone, my name is Hai. I work at NEAR Project Ops and also Speed Marketing team. And today I'm so glad to talk with you guys about Speed and yes. Just a moment.
Do something. There's 4 people watching.
You can see.
One of them is my mom.
How to spell the word?
For people watching in 3 thumbs up, you gotta work on the ratio there. You know?
Okay, so very quick, just 5 minutes. So Spin is the first next of the book allow us to do the spot, on-chain, and perpetual, and also option. Yes. And as you can see in the UI and UX, through this one, you just using your Near wallet. So which means no KYC, and because you using the Near wallet to connect your key and your coin, so no withdraw or deposit from the SEX. And you just deposit and use the spot on the book, and with a very low trading fee and multiple order time. And we also have the perpetual and the option in the near future. Now the perpetual is on the testnet. And for the debt-friendly API and SDK, so any VM, if they want to listing the assets on Steam, they just do it very friendly, and you guys can integrate it and listing on the Steam. And until now, we have some live product. First one is the swap, certainly spot, and also the on-chain on the book. And the perpetual is now testnet, and we are doing the mainnet very soon. For the futures release, we will have a derivative and other new product. So until now, we have 1,000 unique wallet with 80,000 transactions weekly, and we have 2 million trading volume until now for Steam. So which means we are fast growing, and we interact with a lot of retail users. And on that, we also invite the project listing on Steam, because we have what we call the core marketing activity. We do the AMA on Steam, we do the AMA on your project, we have the quiz, and we also have the trading tournament for listing the project on Steam. So as now we have the listing of the Paras, the biggest NFT, and after that is the Beta Pool on Steam. Yes. And we also have a backer here, as you can see, and we raised in the seed round of 3.75 million. And we are partnered with Red Finance, Metapool, Paras, DFA on finance, and already audited by Block Apex. And finally, so thank you for being here. We also create a special quiz for the Korean community. So please get the QR code here, and you can go to the product quiz in Korean language. And as you can see, we have 2 QR codes. One is for the quiz in Korean, and one is the article about Steam. And thank you so much. Yes. And for the next, I will pass the button for ADD for talking about Beta Pool. And please get the QR code if you don't know and they have it.
Thank you, sir. Great branding. My name is Alejandro, or AVP, representing Metapool Business Development. I don't have slides, and yeah, I'll just make you stare at our landing page because we just got new branding, and I feel it looks amazing. So we really brief. I feel like when we talk about DeFi, it's really important to talk about liquid staking as one of the core building blocks. And one of the things I really like about liquid staking is that it actually brings up 2 really important things for an ecosystem. One would be at a core infrastructure layer, and one would be on the DeFi specific layer. So let's start with the core infrastructure, which is perhaps the less sexy bit, but really important. So as you know, Near is a proof of stake blockchain, which requires people to lock Near on validators so that the network is secure. Proof of stake blockchains have very complicated technology, and it also has really interesting game theory. For instance, how much value should be locked on a blockchain that has $100 billion in it? If you only have a small amount, you could potentially start to see cases whereby somebody could attack the network in ways that they take a lot of money. If you want to see an example of those kind of design flaws and risks, perhaps you could look at some of the recent examples of the Terra ecosystem and what happens when somebody triggers that risk vector. So when we talk about staking, you have a challenge, which is staking pays about 10%, but especially during the early days, it is actually relatively easy to find other opportunities in the DeFi ecosystem that can yield you higher profits. And we need a thriving DeFi ecosystem for the network to succeed. Which brings us to the question, how can we make sure that the network stays safe, secure, decentralized, and that we can nurture that DeFi ecosystem? Enter liquid staking. So liquid staking is a super simple concept whereby when you stake with a liquid staking provider such as Metapool, what you're doing is delegating your NEAR to the Metapool smart contract. The Metapool smart contract automatically delegates the NEAR on your account to validators. And at this point is worth clarifying that we actually delegate across all validators based on performance and how much NEAR has been accumulated on each validator. So we're looking at just keeping the network secure but also decentralized and avoid too few nodes accumulating too much stake. And the last thing that the smart contract does, which is a beautiful and smart thing, is to give you back ST-NEAR. ST-NEAR is basically a receipt that represents your NEAR staked. So essentially you can have your cake and eat it too. Now you're able to have your NEAR delegated with nodes, secure the network, have an income of about 10% of current rates, and take the ST-NEAR elsewhere in the DeFi ecosystem. So we can start to see how, as a building block, it's actually extremely powerful because you start going into capital efficiency and you start triggering little flywheels for growth, whereby now the same people can start creating larger impact on the ecosystem in a way that is more inviting to others, and we don't know how this ends. So that is an overview of liquid staking. Just really quickly on Metapool, we're really proud of being very early on the NEAR ecosystem. We actually have been on mainnet for over a year. We were live about 6 months before there was any use for ST-NEAR, before there was a lending protocol. And the reason is because we've been working very close with core infrastructure. We've been very early supporters of the Open Charts Alliance and the validators community. We have received a strategic staking of 1.5 million from the Foundation of Proximity. That 1.5 million has actually been very important to maintain the last 40 validators, which were onboarded during the last Stake Wars competition. And right now, we're helping organize Stake Wars Episode 3. So a crowdfunding presentation from Encode Club. We are in the process of upgrading the network from phase 0 to phase 1. That upgrade will see up to 200 new validators. And once again, we face the question of how can we ensure that we have enough NEAR delegated on all these new validators so that the network remains secure. We don't want them losing their seed prize, we don't want them having to, we don't want there to be financial barriers of access to set up a node. In terms of having the network be decentralized, we want to make sure that the the validators themselves are decentralized. We're looking at having people all over the world secure the network. So that is a really quick overview of liquid staking and Metapool. If you have any questions, I guess put it to the panel. And
Yeah, good, thank you.
so easy. I'll invite the panelists back to the front.
Thank you, Defi. So thank you for the presentations from Spin and Metapool. We'll go into the DeFi on NEAR panel, and I will be asking some of our panelists today to introduce their project and also talk about what they see as the future of DeFi on NEAR. Why don't we start with Next, because you didn't get a chance to introduce your project yet. Please introduce yourself first, and who you are, and what your product is to our audience, please.
Yeah, hi guys, I'm Kim from Next. I'm a Solidity contract developer of Next, and our product is perpetual trading protocol, and we're using NIT and Oracle pricing system. And NIT is a liquidity pool that you deposit your assets into our and use it as an asset to trade certain tokens to make a derivative trades. And Oracle pricing, instead of order books and making orders to order books, we use our Oracle to make the price very accurate and make very low slippage and price impact. And that's our core advantage of making trades very safe and very user-friendly. And in our roadmap, we plan to make a bridge as well, because we aim to upgrade our project to multi-chain. And next, we plan to make our own mainnet to make our trade very safe and building our mainnet means that we have very mainnet that's very friendly to our own protocol. So controlling our mainnet will make our users to very go through very safe and fast transactions. And after that, we'll plan to make our project very successful. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, thank you so much for the introduction. So just as a little bit of a context, the projects here, Spin and Medical, they're building on near native, and Next is building on Aurora, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, so Aurora, which is the EVM compatible layer running on Near. Let's talk a little bit about the background of the team, the origin story of each of the projects, and I'd love to hear what your assessment of the DeFi landscape of Near Aurora, and then how that informed your choice to build on Near Aurora. Whoever wants to start.
I guess I'll go first. So a little bit on background. I grew up in Venezuela, so the promise of and the vision of crypto really early on, so Bitcoin 2013, Ethereum 2016. And I guess the way that I end up in here is I was a little frustrated that the promise of blockchain was not being realized because it couldn't scale and was so expensive. It just became a club for people that made a lot of money in the early days and then flipping JPEGs. So I'm here trying to realize a vision of cheap, fast, scalable transactions. And when you start looking at that, when you're looking at an ecosystem that enables you to realize that vision, you basically start to ask what has to be true for it to happen. And yeah, I'm looking at it now, making sure that all the core infrastructure, the security primitives are there.
What's the current landscape and why is it?
Yes. So you can see that here we have like AMM, we have the staking, but like we don't have the order book. That's the reason why Speed making the first order book on here. So they bring the best of the both sides, centralized and decentralized. Because we come for the centralized exchange because we can put the order book very easy. Just put the order and forget about it and wait until it finished. But for the AMM, we have the slippage, we have to wait for the liquidity pool. So that's why Steam coming with the vision of bringing the spot order book on the end, and later we focus on the perpetual and the option as well. Yes.
We chose Near because right now the macro and world crypto market is very depressed, and we know what's going on, right? Yeah. So. So that made us to decide which network should work on. So, and we thought the Near and Aura has much potential in it. It has raised much funds, and we thought there's still much room to get in, like new projects like us. So we chose it, and like top projects like Bastion, Origami, Goro, Graph, they're doing great. They're doing great job getting much funds, getting much support from the chain, and we thought it's about time, like new project like us, to get into there and make many opportunities to users in the chain. And we hope we get much support as they do from the chain. Yeah.
May I ask, so you're building on Aurora. I'm sure you would have considered other Ethereum EVM compatible networks. You know, you could have considered an L2 or Rollup or Polygon. Why did you choose Aurora out of other competing options?
First, we saw many perpetual particles in there already, so we thought we had much room here to get some money. And on top of that, we thought near, like Avalanche, we thought it could be next Avalanche. Yeah, we thought that. So the chain is great, and
There's a lot of room for improvement.
yes, that's right.
But just to pick up on that, that is extremely important because everything is a cycle, and at the beginning of the cycle, nobody wants to be in the new place because everybody's in the other place. But then when this wheel starts spinning, you're going to find the exact same ideas and products spreading across the entire stack, and the winner is going to be the one that provides the best user experience. So if you were to choose the right place, whether by real choice or by coincidence, I do believe that Near and Aurora provide a really good place to build because of the user experience. So it may be around the Defi ecosystem, it may be less crowded, less TVL, whichever aspect you really look at it. All those things can change over time, but we do know this concept now is that user experience component, which can't really be replicated easily. So
Yeah, so I'd love to ask then, because that kind of answers my question, which was a follow-up with, which is not only why Near, but why now? And because, you know, the now for Near, for the room for growth potential, it does exist on other chains potentially that are on similar calibers as Near. So I think that answers that. Maybe we'll go in a little bit with per product. I'd love to hear more. You know, you said STNear, which is the token you get in return for taking the ability to stake in protocol, which is Metapool. It represents one stake near, and you can use this as a liquid token on the protocols. You said this is a fundamental building block in the near DeFi ecosystem. Do you think you could take us through some examples of how it can be used on different DeFi apps to showcase this?
yes, excellent question. So the key questions here would be capital efficiency, and we do have some advantages to see how liquid staking providers and tokens have been used in other ecosystems. So the two key uses that we can think of now, and I'm sure there will be more as more sophisticated protocols come online. The first one would be providing liquidity on an AMM. So if you think of AMMs, there is a concept of farming, which is additional incentives in the early days because you have to attract liquidity from somewhere. Farming is not sustainable in the long term because you're just printing tokens out of thin air, and eventually you have to have liquidity that sustains the protocol. If you look at using STNear as a base currency of a pool, the pool currently has 10% in Near, which we could call a hard asset. So you could potentially reduce the inflationary pressures of the oil exchange to have to support all the farms. And yeah, that would be on the token inflation side. Then you also look at the capital efficiency. You know, one of the things that we monitor very closely when we look at creating pools and private TVL is if you have a pool, like our pool in Ref now, it's about $3 million, and we're doing about $100,000 in daily volume. So the question is, could we put $2 million to work elsewhere? Well, in our pool it's fine because we're actually staking the network. But if you look at other pools, then you have a chicken and the egg situation. You need to have deep liquidity to get good pricing, but at the same time you don't want to have debt capital sitting there that could be introduced elsewhere. So that would be a really good use case of having STNear to provide liquidity. The second use case would be lending. Lending is extremely popular on the way up, and we saw a lot of liquidations on the way down. The key use case here without getting too detailed would be, once again, if you think about the security models, you have a problem if, as the network starts to succeed, the people that hold the most near and are using it to secure the network now have an incentive to sell, to buy a house, or to buy an island, or to go to Mars. So liquid staking is a vehicle that enables you to continue to stake potentially into perpetuity and provide NEAR as collateral to obtain a loan. So being able to access liquidity is extremely important, and some of the patterns that we saw in the bull cycles were people lending money against the NEAR to borrow USD, to buy more NEAR, to stake it again, and then you look that all the way to getting liquidated. So those are the two interesting examples that we have active now. STNear is listed on Borrow, which is the premium and only lending market on NEAR mainnet. STNear is what we have a release coming up, but alpha there for everyone. It will be listed on Steam very soon, and it's also listed on Origami and Baskin, which are the largest lending protocols on Aurora.
So this time for Spin and Next. So I guess this comes from more of a personal perspective in the sense that I'm part of Proximity, which is the DeFi vertical for the ecosystem. And we are particularly bullish on order book dexes and perps, and in general derivatives as kind of the next big thing for DeFi. Would you guys agree? And if so, could you provide more insight into why this may be the case?
As you can see that in the history of the Bismarck of 2019 in the bear market, so derivative open the opportunity for extract the profit in the bear market, even the price going down. So that's why we think that by building the same derivative option on Spin, we can bring more user to the NEAR. Yes, and we have our plan in the future to make NEAR more universal, like with your MetaMask wallet, they can connect on Spin to do the trade, the derivative, no KYC, and also they can key your coin so they can own the money by themselves. That's why we come up with the vision.
Like perps like Next thinks that the current market is very targeted to perp protocols because people are not willing to spend their money into the chain because of certain things. And we thought that making derivative tradings in our chain, in our product, will make a lot of opportunities for the chain, make money from many users. And we thought that compared to spot market, derivative has many more opportunities because the concept of perp is really interesting. And compared to spot market, people can make a lot of opportunities from their own strategies to market prediction. So to the question of could the perp could be the next big thing, I'll say yes, definitely. And we thought that the space in the room for perp protocols in NEAR and Aura has much more opportunities than other chains. And yeah.
So on that note then, we understand kind of the strategic positionings that we're taking, like taking on perps as kind of the next big wave, order book nexus as the next big wave, it kind of providing the infrastructure, foundational layers through the staking assets. On the product level, project level, we are seeing actually quite a few competitors in your genre. So if with liquid staking, you were for a long time the only liquid staking solution on NEAR, and now you're seeing Linear, you're seeing Stable Labs, potentially seeing something like Lido, same for order book dexes. Around the same time, you have Ludex from Orderly, you have Spin yourself, you also have Tonic, which is doing something similar, and then for perps, I mean, perps is going to become more and more populated as we move forward. I guess the first question is, what is your strategy with regards to this competition? Do you see it as competition? How are you differentiating yourself from others?
check them out later. Basically. Now, I think competition is always interesting because we're always looking for opportunities. The ecosystem is very small. We don't want to fragment liquidity. There is more that needs to be built than value that you can extract. And that's kind of where we're focusing. Like we've had a year of lessons and connecting with people in the ecosystem. Right now we're really excited to be working with the community just to communicate what NEAR can do. If we can bring more projects to NEAR, if we can bring more users to NEAR, then the pie expands for everyone. With the liquid staking providers that are entering this space, it's probably going to be similar with other large names entering the space in the different verticals. Being a large name in a different ecosystem gives NEAR a lot of strength and validation. So people that are familiar with those projects in the ecosystem may now consider NEAR, I guess, as a more legitimate option. What we've also seen with some of the larger names is that maybe their awareness of the opportunities in the ecosystem, or it takes time to settle in and how committed they are. So far we've seen very strong support for the NEAR native and Aurora native protocols, and always happy to collaborate. We'll still be here, so.
So for us, for Speed, it definitely a cooperation or a competition. So we have a very good relationship with other big partnership projects like MetaBoom, Refinance, Proximity. We also have created some developer founding work together with the Tonic Dex, and we also co-op with Orderly for the other projects. So we think in the near futures, yes. So we want everyone to go together to bringing the other user or developer from Solana, from Terra, which is the Rust language to our chain. And we think also that because we can co-op together, and if you have some new features, we can do the marketing partnership, we can say about meta news, or we can say about new feature of Next on Aurora. And as well, we have a plan we call NEAR Adventures. So on that, we bring all the new users go through NEAR and take a route, like go and stack on MetaBoom, or on the Paras, on Red, or on the Steam. This is alpha leak because we haven't finalized that yet, but gonna be soon. So it's same with the layer 3, so people they can go in there and they can get a reward by the new user, and just using the MetaMask with an ETH. I think so.
It's the literal definition of an alpha leak. Now you know.
Yeah, I think it's about time to collaborate rather than competition. And because, the room is limited and the builders are still coming up. So we gotta, I think some people will say, through competitions, the chain will have the best protocol out of the competition, but I think rather collaborating, the main project will have much more opportunities, and through that, the newer project will come in too. So collaborating is most important than competition. And through our NIT pool, so we are a protocol, but we have NIT pool called liquidity pool. So people deposit their money, and through that large liquidity pool, the DEX aggregators and other protocols could utilize our liquidity pool. So through that, many protocols could build their own money Legos, and they can come up with new strategies with our product. So through our liquidity pool, many project will have many opportunities and advantages.
Awesome.
So it seems like everyone's kind of playing nice for the moment.
Yeah.
So no boxing matches this year. But we're, I guess, kind of to summarize all, it seems like our foremost strategy is to grow the pie because Near is still a relatively small ecosystem. We need to attract more users from the outside rather than competing with it inside. So it seems like that's kind of the gist that we're getting. So speaking of collaboration, I'd love to hear more concretely, which projects, other projects within the DeFi ecosystem on Near and Aurora are you most excited to work with? Are there partnerships, current cooperations that are already in the works? Could you give us a description of how you envision DeFi Legos to play out?
I am afraid of giving this guy the mic again because he's just disclosing all the alpha. But I'm really excited, and this actually goes to the first question of why Near. If you look at Ethereum's market, after a while they figured out that it was high value, low frequency transactions. So I'm really excited to work with all the partners that are coming from here that are realizing that we can do low value, high frequency transactions, and that opens an entire market. Obviously, order books would be there. I'm excited about order books because if you look at some of the recent challenges that we've had in the crypto ecosystem, it's not really a challenge of the crypto ecosystem, it's a challenge of the centralized operators in the crypto ecosystem. So I do strongly believe that if we can have decentralized technology that gives a user a similar experience as using a Binance or an FTX, we're going to replace that stack next. So when you look at order books, I'm excited. On-ramps, Transact, Banksam, HerePay. So I'm really excited about all those Legos falling into place because we're going to see a large transfer of value from the existing centralized stack proven business model to us proving that our technology can do that in a decentralized way, and by definition, it removes the counterparty risk.
So far we are connecting with all the wallets. So we think wallets is a way to bring the user to the market. So we have the Alpha Lake for you for the MetaMask. Besides, we have other like a SafePower. SafePower is like a ledger, but they have 500K followers on Twitter and 2 million users. So we will sign the partnership with a lot of wallets and to make Spin and Near very easy accessible for their security. Because those who use Ledger and SafePower, they care about security and they have a big fund. And of course, they want to trade, but they don't want to put it on the SEX or they don't want to put it on the DeFi too risky. So we aim that Spin can provide an order book with a higher security and perpetual, so they can trade with peace of mind. Yes.
As one of the developers in the team, not sure which team.
You need the DE to
Yeah, just one of the tech guys. Yeah, I love these protocols.
I got you.
Yeah, I got you too.
I mean, then you could also talk about from your perspective. You said you want to invite other projects to build leveraging next, right? Like what kind of projects and collaborations do you want to see, if not already?
Again through NIT, Liquidity Pool, we through depositing liquidity on our pool, the users can earn APR from the liquidity pool. So depositing assets into there, the money market projects will utilize our APR and building money Legos, and other projects will could utilize our leveraging trading somewhere. So I mean, most importantly, the money Legos through APR will be the key, because not only making tradings on our project, the people making money out of the liquidity pool is very important to us, because trading fees is not that much, and not many people will use very many transaction in our trade, because perp trading is like you make trade and you see how it's going, and they don't make many transactions like in a team. So APR through money levels will be the key.
You're gonna get a pleasant surprise from the crypto traders. Open, close, open, close.
Okay, so kind of to wrap things up, I'd love to ask, in order for Near to become the DeFi chain, or the DeFi network, what do we need more? So you guys are all doing your part in order to contribute to the growth of the DeFi ecosystem on Near rollout. What else do you need? Do you need other projects to work with you? Do you need financial support? Do you need more of a community engagement? On all levels, what do we need to get to that level?
Through building our project in Aurora, EVM, on top of Near, we saw many obstacles and errors through the development process, because we know there's much information in the docs, and Discord people, they answer our questions, but we're still getting some errors that the docs doesn't describe. And compared to other EVM solutions like Polygon and EVM, we saw the problems that didn't appear up on the other EVM, but still on the Aurora EVM. So through that, we hope some development development support from the Discord would be needed. And we saw on the GitHub, we saw 50 open issues that didn't get closed, and we saw some issues that we go through on that GitHub open issue. So I hope some devs from Aurora quickly hop on their problem and solve it. Please.
In an hour or so, Alex from Aurora is going to be here. I think you can direct these
All
messages.
right. Oh dear, yeah.
No competition on fight.
Collaboration. Yeah.
But yeah, very important point, yeah.
So that's good. I like to be here for you. So for us, I think we have a lot of projects in the ecosystem now. We like the basic block staking and DeFi and AMM and order book. So I think that the next step is how to onboarding the new user in a creative and fun way. Like because we have a human readable address. Yeah, it's very easy to remember compared with MetaMask. Therefore, so how the next step, how can we make it very easy to access, like the wallet? So DeFi easy, staking easy, and making NFT like you make today in front of the entrance. I think that's cool and very easy to do that. So Spin, in our point of view, we will have a plan to make a proposal for making very creative, very fun way to onboarding the new user with the ecosystem projects like Red and the tools.
Yeah, if you have like even just a naming decentralized finance, you're just meant to be making traditional finance or just finance in a decentralized way. Like it's not meant to be crypto finance, it's not meant to be a separate category. Up until now, due to some of the limitations that we've had in deploying that next tier of infrastructure that we need, and because we've had mostly speculative trading of like layer 1 coins, hoping that one day we'll be able to build that infrastructure there, we won't. I feel like we really need to focus on what makes Near unique, understand that those features are not available in other chains. So we need to understand, we need to focus on what we're doing and stop looking to the sides. I'll give you an example. Anita mentioned this earlier today. I actually learned this today. Due to the account commissioning model and the ability to issue single-use private keys, you could actually issue single-use private keys to trusted third parties, so that you retrieve your private keys in case you lose yours. So you could actually issue a single-use private key to a bank, have a contractual relationship with the bank, and if you lose your keys, you contact them with a 7-day waiting period, and then you retrieve your keys. That is a feature that very few chains have. I'm gonna go on a limb and say no one else. And that alone opens the door to talk to large institutions. Can you get a mortgage using crypto? Can you stop building their railways on our technology? So I feel like we have the technology, or it's getting there. We're working through those issues. And we really need to focus on what makes it unique and what is decentralized finance meant to be. Understand that DeFi is not trading shitcoins, it's incorporating the world population into a world where they can realize the value of their work, obtain financing, keep growing, and incorporate most of the economies of the world, which have traditionally been excluded because of corruption and market institutions, into the world economy.
It's the mission statement of NEAR, right? On the next 1 billion users on chain, and it's the same model applies to finance. Right, well, I just want to end with a quick call to action. If from your project, maybe your team is hiring, maybe you want the community to be engaged more, maybe you have tested it, you want people to try it out. If you have a last word, a call to action, please go ahead.
So next is going through testnet tryouts, and so you guys could go try it out. And next week we go to mainnet, so quickly try it out, please. And right now we're not sealed any partnership yet, so please feel free to contact our marketing manager or me. Yeah, so we going live next week, so please come and visit. That's it.
So for Speak, we have the Speak and the Korea Week with Jaden over there. Yes, later. So we're gonna have a quiz in Korean language. So please try. And we have the mainnet, so spot, so you can already use. And we have the purple tool on testnet, so you can have a trading tournament and get the reward as well. And we're gonna have the AMA week near Korea this week as well in terms of near Korean week.
If you have any NEAR lying around, or if you decide to go all in and become an overnight whale, definitely stake it. It's an excellent way to help secure the protocol. You stake with STNear, you help decentralize the network as well. And I guess I just want to give a shout out to Stake Wars. We're very, very busy with Stake Wars now. It's a really good opportunity to learn, and even from like the organizing team, we're learning a lot. We're trying to battle test the network first, which really reaches mainnet, and technically it's still possible to join. There's going to be some changes to the structure of the competition, but if you're interested in learning more about the technical side, this would be a little bit of opportunity to get involved. Even if you don't end up being a validator on mainnet, this would be a good opportunity to connect with others too, and just get you started on that and see the technical journey.
I think because I follow ADD since the beginning through the videos, how to make the most of your capital. So I buy here, I stack in STNear, and I deposit in the lending, and I borrow that again to buy here, and I stack in the STNear again. Sorry, but that's it.
Do as I say, not as I do. So he's wearing a suit
Not financial advice.
and I'm wearing my PJs. And definitely not financial advice.
Quickly on Stake Wars, and if you're interested in becoming a NEAR validator, just like ABB mentioned, on Tuesday, this is day 3 of our event, ABB is having a session all about Stake Wars and how to participate if you can run your own chunk only, if you become a chunk only producer for the NEAR network. So if you're interested, come by that day and then you'll get to hear all about it. I want to thank, just a call to action from Proximity said, in all of these successful projects, and soon to be successful projects, we kind of hand in supporting all of them, with their raises, with advisory, with their design. If you're building DeFi, if you want to build DeFi on your Aurora, please reach out to me, proximity.dev, we have an intake form, I'd be happy to support you. Thanks once again, Hakim from Next, Kai from Spin, ABB from Deadpool, and please enjoy a break. We'll come back with more talks and panels from 3 p.m. Thank you very much.
you need to click HTX in the corner. Oh no.